Okay, welcome to this GCSE RS revision video. This is revision video 3 of 5 video for the component 2 topic Christian practices. And in this video we're looking at pilgrimage, Christianity and Britain. So first of all, pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is a journey to a sacred place, usually as an act of devotion. In Christianity, pilgrims might travel to the Holy Land to walk in the steps of Jesus. Pilgrims believe that life itself could be a journey. Pilgrimage is an act of faith, the journey representing the journey that all Christians undertake from earth to heaven. A couple of important places that you should know for the exam: Walsingham in Britain. In Norfolk, Walsingham has been a place of pilgrimage since 1061, when a widow of the Lord Mayor of Walsingham, Pava, had a dream that the Virgin Mary had asked her to rebuild a replica of the house of Nazareth, where the Annunciation, the announcement of Jesus' birth, took place, where Mary was told by the angel Gabriel that she would have a child. Walsingham is important because our human journeys begin with birth, and Walsingham is a shrine to the place where Jesus' birth was foretold. Taizé in France. Well, the monks of Taizé come from all Christian denominations. It's an ecumenical kind of pilgrimage and site of pilgrimage. People travel to Taizé to live a life of communal prayer. It's unusual because it's ecumenical, meaning it represents unity between different Christian churches. Today, there are more than 100 brothers from both Catholic and Protestant traditions. Reconciliation, the result of the resolution of conflict, is the heart of the Taizé community. In fact, it was created after the Second World War to do just that. By bringing together different Christian denominations, the Taizé community promotes understanding and cooperation between them. Taizé is famous because it's one of the most important pilgrimage sites for young people. Over 100,000 people make the pilgrimage to Taizé each year. Young people go on pilgrimage for a whole range of reasons to Taizé. Maybe they're curious, they're kind of humanist or atheist, or they're just curious about spirituality. And so this is a kind of spiritual journey of discovery. And they might not convert to Christianity, they might just have a nice experience. And many report that they go and they like the community. Adventure, it's a holiday. It could be done as an act of remembrance, to think about a loved one, maybe who's gone or something like that. It could be an attempt to walk in the footsteps of some people of faith and to imitate them. There might be historic reasons why they would go, because others have gone who they know. And then for some, it's an act of atonement, an act of penance, perhaps, especially for Catholics. That's why they might go. An act of supplication. Maybe this is a journey to ask God for something. When pilgrims arrive at Taizé, they join the life of the monastic community. By taking part in set prayer in the worship centre, which is called the Church of Reconciliation, which is non-specific. It includes, it's colourful, but its iconography, its images are non-specific to any particular Christian tradition. And they would spend time in prayer there. Silent prayer is often encouraged, again, to encourage this ecumenicism. So no specific Catholic or Protestant liturgies are used, but their own Taizé liturgies are used. These include special times of private prayer, Bible study, and discussion groups led by monks who share the communal work. Again, with no specific agenda, but to help people hear each other's viewpoints on Scripture. The services are world famous for their use of Taizé chants. Ubi caritas, Deus ibi es, ubi caritas, Deus ibi es. And such chants are often used and very popular. In other churches, many churches in the West hold their own Taizé services using Taizé music. During the services, the monks wear white robes, and the monks and all the pilgrims who visit Taizé are required to attend church services 3 times a day. Now, there are many other sites of pilgrimage, but the exam board wants you to learn about Walsingham in Britain and Taizé in France. So make sure you know these two and the idea of pilgrimage. Moving on then to religion and particular Christianity in Britain. Well, the religious landscape of Great Britain is changing in the 21st century. And we've just had the census poll of 2021 at the time of recording. As yet, the results haven't come out. We do know the census poll results of 2011, and that tells us a few different things. Religious beliefs are regarded by many, increasing number of people, as out of date or irrelevant by a growing number of people. Many people claim to be agnostic, unsure whether God exists, or atheist, who believe there's no God. Census data points towards the idea that Christianity is only now one of many religions in the UK, meaning that the religious landscape is pluralist, with people following a number of religions. The data suggests attendance at churches has declined, and that the celebration of religious festivals for many has lost its religious significance. Christmas is still celebrated, but many people see this as an opportunity just to spend time with family and friends, sharing goodwill with others. Cards and presents are exchanged, but without any real religious connection, even if they have religious symbols on them. It's celebrated without a Christian reference and is a much more secular, non-religious celebration you could call Winterval or a Winter Festival. We see a couple of pictures, by the way, on the right here of two great cathedrals in Liverpool. On the top is Paddy's Wigwam, and on the bottom then is the Anglican Cathedral, Hope Cathedral, as it's called in Liverpool. And they are connected by Hope Street. These two cathedrals are fantastic buildings just to go and see. They're incredible structures. The monumental Anglican Cathedral is incredible. The stained glass windows of Paddy's Wigwam again, and the artwork there, incredible places to visit. So the census poll data of 2011, and we wait 2021 data to come out, and we see how this has changed. So despite falling numbers, Christianity remains the largest religion in England and Wales. Nearly 60%, 59.3% of the population declare Christianity as their religion. But it needs to be known that in 2001, the previous census had 71.7% of people declaring Christianity as their religion. And this shows a significant decrease in 10 years. Now, how do you understand this data? Others have done polls, and perhaps it's suggested while the number of people who are committed religious people remains steady. But as you look at the general populace, the number of people who are prepared to say they are sort of nominally Church of England is lowered. And maybe the number of people who are committed is growing. And that means that these people who were previously would have put Church of England or something like that, just something to say, are now increasingly more confident in saying they are non-religious. And indeed, in the 2021 census, that was the great push by the Humanist Society. If you say you're not religious, then put that on your census form. They wanted to encourage people to do. And so we'll see what the data is in a month or two in 2021. So the proportion of the population reported that they have no religion is 25%, something like 14.1 million people. Islam is the next biggest group. 7.2% of people who declared, who answered the poll didn't answer at all. And so they were called unknown. It was a voluntary question in their religious preference. However, this suggests that some people think it's not appropriate to talk about religion or religious belief. So that might tell us something in particular. London is perhaps the most diverse centre for religion, no surprise there, with a number of people identifying themselves as Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish. The Northeast and Northwest had the highest proportion of people reporting no religion. Now, UK religious laws, festivals and traditions. Christianity was introduced into Britain by the Romans nearly 2,000 years ago, perhaps as early as 300 AD. Certainly Emperor Constantine Christianized the Roman Empire by 325. But there's possibly evidence even before that of Christianity reaching the shores of England through early Christian missionary activity, perhaps as early as the 2nd century. So this long history means Christianity is deeply embedded in the laws, festivals, and traditions of the UK. The Church of England is the established religion in the UK, meaning that it links to the government and other official bodies such as the court system. So people swear an oath on the Bible when testifying in court. In the 16th century, King Henry broke away from the Catholic Church and the authority of the Pope and made himself head of the Church of England. Today, as well as being head of the state, the Queen, is the supreme governor of the Church of England, and all monarchs are crowned by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Perhaps it could be argued even more that in a deep way, some of our laws and traditions, and people like Tom Holland in his book Dominion would argue, are deeply connected to religious ideas, idea of equality, all being made in the image of God, and the abandonment of the divine right of kings, and embracing, and after the Magna Carta, of a greater equality of all people being of equal value under the law itself, is a very Christian idea. Or perhaps the idea of sin, the reason we have a parliamentary system that prevents any one group of people being elected forever, and encouraging a kind of combative parliamentary system, again reflects a Christian distrust of any one person having power for too long. So what about traditions? Well, keeping the Sabbath day, keeping Sunday, is a commandment. Traditionally, Christians would go to church on Sunday, and it was thought of as a day of rest. As a result, shops still have Sunday trading rules that means they can not open their tills till 10 a.m. and must close the tills at 4 p.m. So these restrictions are there, and actually many unions like these ideas that shop workers can have a day of rest, despite the fact that large companies like supermarkets would want to see these rules expanded to increase their trade. In the UK court, a witness swears on the Bible that they're telling the truth. And if they are from another tradition, they can choose to swear in their own holy book. A non-religious person can make a witness affirmation where they promise to tell the truth without reference to the holy book. Christian hymns and readings are often made at public events. For example, the National Service of Remembrance held each year includes commemoration of those who died in the Second World War. And services for that event would include Bible readings. So people in the UK, lots of people in the UK mark important life events at a church. Marriage being perhaps the key one, and perhaps baptism being another. Even if they're not religious, they might go along for cultural reasons. So that's tradition. So what about laws? The UK Parliament makes all sorts of laws, passing Acts of Parliament. But it's important to know it's made of two houses, one of which includes 26 of the most senior Church of England bishops. So for laws to be passed in the UK, they must be approved by both houses of Parliament. So the Church of England has a direct role in shaping UK law. Meeting of both houses of Parliament open with Christian prayers, and many of the laws of the UK reflect the teaching of some of the 10 commandments. For example, do not kill or do not steal. You might argue these are general ideas, but Christians would argue the history of our laws has been shaped by such beliefs, and perhaps by deeper ideas of equality. Festivals. Well, the Christian calendar has deeply influenced public calendar. The holidays of Christmas and Easter are still being widely celebrated in the UK, even if you don't attend Easter and Christmas events. School holidays fall over these times, and many businesses will close Easter weekend or Christmas Day, that sort of thing. Other Christian festivals like St. Valentine's Day, nobody knows anything about St. Valentine. Look them up if you don't. And these, for most people, have no awareness of the religious context of the day. It's not important. They're just sort of secular festivals that celebrate romantic love. Today, many people of other religions traditions take time off work to celebrate their own festivals, whether it's the New Year celebrations of Diwali for Sikhs and Buddhists and especially Hindus, whether it's the end of Ramadan, Eid, or so on. Some non-religious festivals, like the Notting Hill Carnival, happen each summer in the UK, and these celebrate the diversity of modern Britain with no specific focus on any particular religion. Non-religious groups such as humanists might recognise World Humanist Day in June or Human Rights Day in December, but they're not that widely celebrated in the UK. Lastly, then, Christianity in Britain in terms of the role of the church in the local community. The church is primarily a place of worship, but as part of living out Jesus' values and imitating what Jesus, to demonstrate what he demonstrated in the Gospels, churches reach out to the communities in varieties of ways. And some of these are more explicit and particular than others. So obviously church services are of a religious nature, and these are public events. Anyone can attend, and so in a way that is part of the community. And these public events can include public rituals, like for individuals and families. Baptisms, confirmation, marriage and funerals are held in churches, and these are a service in a sense to the community. As well as this, churches have resources like church halls or church buildings, which can be used for a whole range of activities. What sort of things? Well, refreshments after the Sunday service, and some churches go further. Meals for the homeless, food banks, poverty action groups, debt advice. Christians Against Poverty, for example, set up debt advice centres in churches. Youth clubs, creche facilities for mothers, and this might go further. Many churches are used by not just mothers and toddlers groups, but actual daycare companies. Summer fairs, organisations like clubs, Cubs and Brownies and Guides and Scouts. Fitness classes, slimming world groups, other forms of community activity, knit and natter, or art groups, or other things. Family and community centres, emergency blood shelters. Emergency shelters, we've seen this in some of the storms around the world. Blood drives, and in recent days, COVID centres to give out vaccination for COVID. So there's lots of particular things. Here are examples. Local Baptist church is opening a food bank every Friday. During COVID, I heard of one group that was offering jigsaws for old people and all sorts of activity packs in cooperation with mutual aid groups and the local council. Many Christians would volunteer to, like what the Quakers do and other Christians do, to visit local prisons and read with prisoners, to run the Alpha course as a form of outreach in prison or in the church. Pensioners, Christmas dinner this Sunday, so Christians offer services to older people. The Catholic Church opens a shop to raise money for those living in poverty. And there are a number of these charities, some for hospices as well. St. Peter's is a local shop near me, but in the southwest of England. Christian businessman funds bottled water to flip-flops for distribution by street pastors in the city centre. A national organisation that's grown up in the last 20 or 30 years is street pastoring. On a Friday night or a Saturday night, Christians volunteer to go out and help people after they've had a big night out and maybe they've had a bit too much to drink, just showing Jesus love, giving bottled waters, giving anti-rape little bottles, tops, and other things to help people in city centres. And these are recognised by the police now as providing valuable service in our city centres. Charity, volunteers needed to distribute Christian Aid envelopes. Christian Aid Week, and is part of the community. Charity and charitable work in the community. So this has been video 3 of 5 Christian practices.